on the day of the shooting, I got my camera and got on my bike and rode as fast as I could 3 miles from my house to the school to get as much video and get on as many interviews as I could, because I knew that this could not be another mass shooting.
Was David Hogg even in school that day, you guys? That's what everybody's talking about and more. Welcome to the House of Sunny podcast. I'm flying solo today because I waited until the last minute to record this. I've been traveling in the land of 10,000 lakes where the water gushes out of the taps and people don't want you to break any rules. Any rules, especially the ones they make up on the spot to satisfy their deep neurotic urge for perfect order. I am a Minnesotan. I love it there. I love Minneapolis. Minneapolis is a great town if it wasn't so cold, but it's got some cultural issues too. I was back there recently and people kept trying to talk to me and have these like friendly conversations. And I was getting irritated by it, and I realized, wow, I've really changed. I've really become Californian. Like, my attitude is, if I'm buying something, I'm at the counter, don't talk to me. I don't have time to have a conversation. I don't want to talk to you. Like, I don't even want you to really look at me too closely because I don't want you to be all up in my business. I don't know where this is coming from. I guess it's a California thing. I didn't even know that people were nice when I used to live in Minnesota. Except that now that I go back, it's like, whoa, they're like extraordinarily nice. But then you also have these weird things, this passive aggressive thing. I was in a store with my 3-year-old. It was a soap store, and she and her little 3-year-old friend were sniffing the soaps and enjoying themselves. My child is really well behaved. So we're not talking about like she's on the loose. And the woman, it's like a little boutique, and she says, after about, 4 minutes of really just the most adorable soap sniffing, you have to be like the hardest hearted bitch to have a problem with this. And of course she did, because she's a Minnesotan and she likes order, and this was disrupting her order. Like, this isn't a child's shop. This is, an adult shop, and she's got kids in there talking about blue raspberry soap, and that was bugging her. So she says, after about 5 minutes, "Are you planning to buy one of those?" I mean, has anyone ever said that to an adult who, I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. What a mean person. So of course I immediately just took my child out. I'm on a lot of prednisone, and so first I guess I said to her, "Is there a problem?" All right, anyway, then I got her out of there. But the other funny thing that happened, we were at the zoo. And at the zoo, I mean, this is the Minnesota Zoo. This is a ginormous zoo. And it was a pretty slow day there, Monday afternoon or something like that. And there were a bunch of, you can rent these disabled motorized vehicles to get around the zoo if you want to. And so there are a bunch of these at the front door. And as we're waiting for it, was raining out, and my mom was going to pick us up. So my daughter and I are waiting at the door. So we sit on one of these vehicles because there's no bench. And I'm resting. I'm sick, I'm resting. I got my daughter on my lap, and the guy at the ticket counter says to me, "Ma'am, we ask that no one sit there just in case you fall off, for liability issues." I mean, he was like super annoyed that I was sitting there. I mean, there's nobody around, so it's not like we're setting a bad example and now everybody's sitting on these things. And he makes up this thing on the spot that like we worry about you falling off because this is a vehicle that disabled people rent. So I don't think there's a falling off problem on these things. And if there is, I think the zoo has a bigger problem than the abled people sitting on the disabled motorized vehicle. But anyway, so that's my Minnesota trip. So I'm back. Normally I record this podcast kind of earlier, and I have, my couple of people on there with me, maybe a guest or something, but it is Thursday morning. You're going to get this in like an hour, so that's exciting. So let's talk about this David Hogg thing. Everyone's talking about, was he actually in the school? And you guys, yes, he was in the school. Maybe you've forgotten, but he actually recorded video in a closet hiding with his classmates I don't think it was actually during the live shooting. I guess they were stuck in there for more than 2 hours, and they're remarkably calm and not like crying. They're not appalled or whatever. They're in this closet. If you've seen the footage that he actually recorded, they're already talking about activism and gun control. These freaking brainwashed kids. It's insane. And David Hogg he's like the worst. I saw that his GPA is like over 4.0 and his SAT score is like around 1300. So pretty impressive, smart guy, evil genius. Let's watch out for this kid because he's really, boy, don't you just hate this kid? Anyway, yes, he was there. He was in the closet. Obviously, he went home or something and then came back that evening because, of course, he was all over the media that night on all the interviews. So he was just back down there doing his thing, being an activist, a student journalist. And, of course, the reason why this is a news story is because CBS is putting out this saccharine 39 minutes is what it's called. It's a show about, the horrible experience these kids went through. And you know what I hate is that they've got me making fun of kids who went through a horrible experience. They've got me actually feeling disgusted by these poor kids. I don't want to see a 40-minute video about what kids went through. Like, I was sympathetic to the Columbine kids. I'm not sympathetic to these kids. And the reason is because of these stupid activists, because they've allowed themselves to be turned into pawns for the gun control Nazis. And I mean Nazis. Anyway, you got David Hogg telling us what to do. You got that buzz cut girl, Emma, whatever, wearing a Cuban flag while speaking about gun control. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. For all you Cuban Americans out there listening to my show, right? Oh my God. Meanwhile, she is, I guess, Cuban or part Cuban or something. Where's her family? Her Cuban family needs to be telling her that she's got it all wrong, because obviously she does. So that's it. The other thing that David Hogg did, I guess, is he's now called for everybody to boycott the companies that support Laura Ingraham because she made fun of him for not getting into college. So that's the kind of guy he is. And so I guess I'm going to rag on the right a little bit here. Like, obviously, the kid was in the school. We already have been through this. I wish people didn't just grab hold of this stuff and run with it without thinking. And the second thing that's been kind of making the rounds regarding this shooting on the right is, like, that we're supposed to care that these mass shootings aren't as common as like lightning strikes or something. I saw that in an article. I mean, I'm glad that they've been going down. I think maybe that's an important statistic, that since the mid-90s, we have fewer of these school shootings, fewer mass shootings. But even if there were just a couple, I mean, really one is too many, right? Remember when Columbine happened and it was just this huge shock? I mean, let's not get desensitized to this. And it doesn't matter if it's more likely to be struck by lightning. It's a horrible, horrible thing. And therefore, we should not have gun-free zones. And therefore, there should be security at these schools. I mean, people use that exact argument when it comes to terrorism. Like, oh, let's let in, endless mass immigration from these countries where we can't, like, make out if these people are actually terrorists or not. Who cares, because you're more likely to be struck by lightning. I mean, I've heard that argument coming from the libertarians. I think Cato came out with a bunch of stuff on that when the San Bernardino thing happened. They're like, oh, don't freak out. You're more likely to be struck by lightning. I don't really care. Like, one 9/11 is too many. One school shooting is too many. There's obviously a problem here. Even if it's been going down since the mid-90s, there's still a problem. So let's not like dismiss it that way, but let's definitely dismiss these kids. And of course, you all know that this March for Our Lives happened over the weekend, the big march. And so there's some really interesting information about that that's come out. First of all, the March for Our Lives, there was a leaked permit document for that, I guess. So now we're learning who's actually behind it. And of course, it's this Everytown USA that always pops up whenever there is any kind of mass shooting. Within a day, these people have a celebrity-laced PSA. They've got their whole enough. You guys got to go see my Demand a Plan parody because it's funny. And this was done years ago, like 6 years, right after the Sandy Hook thing. I did a parody video of this Demand a Plan, which is one of these Everytown USA PSAs where they're going, enough, enough. So they're still using the same language. It's the same group. And apparently that is a front for Bloomberg. So it's New York City money. And they are trying to ban guns. They're against guns. There's also this group called Mothers Against Guns. And so the March for Our Lives has on its board a bunch of people from Everytown, which is Mothers Against Gun and Bloomberg, and then a bunch of LA leftist activists. So this is a professional organization that is co-opting these kids, did it ASAP. They do not waste a crisis. Every time one of these things happens, they're all over it. And they are so fast, and they are so well funded, and their design is good. I mean, they've got it all ready to go. So that's Bloomberg. So who was at this march? Turns out, hardly any kids. Something like 10%. I'm going to read this article to you. Whereas the 2017 Women's March was 85% women, the March for Our Lives was 70% women. Further, the participants were highly educated. 72% had a BA or higher. I don't know how they get these numbers, but whatever, we'll believe them. Contrary to what's been reported in many media accounts, the crowd was not primarily made up of teenagers. Only about 10% of the participants were under 18. The average age of the adults in the crowd, was right around 49 years old. So this is actually older than participants in other marches. And so I guess it's similar to the average participant at the Million Moms March in 2000, which was also about gun control. So this is just the same gun control people. So can we ignore them? Can we ignore this right now? I kind of feel like I'm ready to ignore this. NRA donations are up. The National Rifle Association received twice as much money from nearly 5 times as many donors in the 7 days after Parkland than it did in the 7 days before the shooting. So I think what we can do is, I actually became a member. I wasn't a member before. I'm now a new member. Gave him some money. I'm going to get that sticker. I'm going to actually put that sticker on my car. I actually think this might be a sticker I could put on my car without worrying about my car being keyed. Because when you put that you're a gun owner, then even a soy boy is going to worry about getting shot. So beat up, because like NRA, you're tough, right? So this could actually go on your car. Put a sticker on your car. These gun control people, they're just going to fail if we just stand our ground, because they're never going to get all the guns, right? So just make sure your politicians don't get wussy about this, because they're having this instant knee-jerk reaction to all of this, and just make sure they don't ban, or give up an inch. We shouldn't ban the AR-15. I don't know anything about guns. I have a couple guns. I know those guns. I don't know anything about guns in general. I don't really care. I just want to be able to protect myself. If I need to learn that someday, I will. Hopefully it won't come to that. Anyway, it always fails, so let's just stop worrying about it. But I think we stay after our politicians, and I'm for punishing these companies that went after the NRA after all of this happened. I'm totally for that. I think if you're going to rent a car, find a car rental company that did not yank their sponsorship of the NRA. I think, shop around. Think about that, because I'm really pissed that these companies are just reacting to the leftist agenda. I'm really over it. I think that's our first step toward, the end of anything that we care about and believe in on the right. So we've got to stay after that. We can't let these companies get away with that crap. I guarantee you the people renting cars are people who are for the Second Amendment. I guarantee you that the people who are for free speech are the ones renting cars. So we're the ones making money. We have jobs. We live in the country, whatever. Okay, so another headline that jumped out at me. This is going really fast because I have nobody to bounce off of and nobody is interrupting me. This is going to be a short podcast. The other headline that jumped out at me was Nicolas Cruz is receiving a lot of fan mail, you guys. And to me, this is like, I don't know if, when you look at the march that went on, a lot of commentators were noting that none of the signs are saying anything about Nicolas Cruz, or, nobody's talking about him. This person, like an actual evil guy, shot these kids, murdered them, and nobody's talking about him. It's all about the guns. So is it not his fault? He's not to blame. The NRA is to blame. The guns are to blame, not Nicolas Cruz, not the Broward County sheriffs and those people. We are just talking about guns in the wake of the school shooting. And he's receiving a lot of fan mail. This is so sick. I'm going to read this right out of this article here. Fans aren't just sending snail mail. They are also on social media. According to the report, several groups have formed on Facebook, including one called Nicolas Cruz, the First Victim. The group's mission is to offer complete support of Nicolas Cruz. Whether or not he did this, he was completely failed. He deserved to get the help he needs, and he deserves a fair trial. I'll tell you what he deserved. He deserved to be arrested and put in jail prior to this. Maybe there were some mental health issues, but he's not insane. He's not insane. He's just evil. And so, yeah, there's a group out there on Facebook who wants to support him. You can't be Britain first in Britain and be super annoyed that you've had all of this Islamic migration that's causing all these, British white women to be raped. If you're those people, you can't have a Facebook group. But if you're supporting someone who just shot and killed 17 kids, you're okay. You can have a Facebook group dedicated to you. And we'll talk about Facebook in a second. Okay, there's more here from this article. This is from the same Facebook group. This is a quote off of the group. I want you all to know that Nicolas knows about us, and he had the biggest smile on his face when he was told that we all support him. Keep the letters coming because he can't wait to finally get them. So he's not getting these letters. I guess they've read to him some that are of the religious type. While jail workers have kept the showering of praise from Cruz, he may be somewhat aware of his fans, as his younger brother was overheard telling him about how popular he's become, especially among women. Ew. I mean, I know there's this weird mental disorder where women write to evil men and want to have sex with them. This is so disgusting. What else am I seeing here? Finkelstein, he's the prosecutor, he's the defendant. The defendant lawyer said the response he's seen is very troubling because everyday boys and girls are starting to view him in an elevated way, looking up to his fame and notoriety. The letters shake me up because they are written by regular, everyday teenage girls from across the nation, he told the Florida paper. That scares me. It's perverted. Okay, why do you suppose that's happening? First of all, why do you think there's this sentiment that it's not his fault? And then there's this other sentiment that he's somehow elevated. Oh, poor Nicolas Cruz. Because nobody's talking about him and nobody's blaming him. That's why. So that's lovely. That's lovely. Okay. This is where are the jokes, Sonny? I don't know. There are no jokes today. And let's see here. Okay. Oh, I wanted to say, remember that in Broward County where the shooting happened, part of what we talked about on a previous podcast was that Nicolas Cruz could have been arrested, but wasn't arrested. I mean, this was kind of ridiculous. There were so many complaints. It was really crazy. But even Trayvon Martin had committed felonies in his school before he got into that situation. And then there was this report that there's just this effort to not arrest kids in order to bring down the arrest numbers, so that they could say, oh yeah, we're reducing crime in our county, when the truth is they're just not arresting people. So, and what that has led to are situations like Trayvon Martin and these are just the famous ones, and Nicolas Cruz. Those are just the famous ones. Imagine how much just crime is out there because really wicked, evil, nasty kids are not getting arrested just because they happen to be under 18. And So what I wanted to say was there's this story out of California. At $75,560,000 a year, housing a prisoner in California now costs more than a year at Harvard. That's from the LA Times. And then I pulled out this little paragraph. Governor Jerry Brown's spending plan for the fiscal year that starts July 1 includes a record $11.4 billion for the Corrections Department, while also predicting that there will be 11,500 fewer inmates in 4 years because voters in November approved earlier releases for many inmates. Again, we're spending too much on these criminals and we have too many criminals. Well, let's just let them out. Let's just stop arresting them, right? That'll work. That's going to go really well. I'm sure that's going to go great. So it's happening in California too. But by the way, the other thing, $75,000 a year. First of all, what struck me was not, wow, that's a lot to spend on a criminal, but wow, that is a lot to spend on a stupid Harvard education. That's kind of what my first thought there was. Is that even worth a Harvard education? Maybe. Opens a lot of doors, I guess. But yeah, $75,000 for a criminal every year. I think maybe they're getting a little too much cushy comfort there. Maybe. Well, I don't know. All right, I said I was going to talk about Facebook. That's kind of my last topic here. I feel a little weird. I mean, I talked about Facebook last time. I'm planning to at least start getting on another social media platform. And I don't have the answer to that yet because since I did the last podcast, I was actually up in Minnesota when I did it. I've just been traveling, too busy, haven't had time to look into it. But I'm definitely getting a lot of invitations to this Mayway one, M-E-W-E. I assume it's pronounced Mayway. And so I'm going to check it out. I will get back to you on that. But now I'm starting to feel like maybe I should stay on Facebook because obviously the left wants me to get off of it. And when the left is now going after Zuckerberg and Facebook so hard that now I'm starting to feel like, maybe why are they doing that? Why are they going after him? They're definitely putting a lot of pressure on him. And he's going to have to cave to that pressure. Well, he already is. I mean, he's such a stooge of the left anyway, that he's caving. But it does make me now uncomfortable to jump on the bandwagon because I don't want to be on the left bandwagon. If the left hates him, then I have to question my hatred of him, right? That's kind of how it is. I don't really know why they hate him. I don't think that anyone really thinks that the Russians manipulated I guess because he stayed neutral. They're mad. Nobody on the left really thinks that those stupid Russian ads and $100,000 at Facebook actually swayed the election, especially since half the ads were going in the other direction. I mean, obviously it was just to sow discord. I don't even know why. Like, it was the weirdest thing. It's such a drop in the bucket money-wise. The ads were so dumb. The groups, and they made some groups. I guess they planned a couple rallies. Okay. I mean, I can't get too upset about it. It's like, I just can't get too upset about free speech. So people using speech or ads or whatever, I just can't get all worked up about it. I'm an American. I can think. I can make up my own mind. That's what we need to be promoting is people need to think and make up their own minds. I'm not worried about like being brainwashed by some dumb Facebook ads. And I don't think anyone on the left thinks that the election was won by Trump because of some Facebook ads. But that's kind of what they're saying. So why do they really hate him? I guess he allowed that data to be sucked out by the Trump strategists. He should have stopped them, I guess, even though he let the Obama strategists do it. I guess he hasn't taken a side, and so they're mad. But he is taking a side now. He's definitely taking a side now, so we should still abandon that ship. Trump is going after Amazon, I guess. I guess he made some tweets. I'm not going to quote him here. He's talked about Jeff Bezos and Amazon before. Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post, which is really just a horrible. It's practically the Huffington Post. It's got a little more legitimacy than that, but it's practically that far left. And I'm not, Does it bother me? I don't know. I don't want him to use antitrust against Jeff Bezos. Like, I guess he's threatened. I don't think he could. I don't think he could get away with it. He's just, imagine if he did that now. I mean, he could do it against Zuckerberg now because the left just made Zuckerberg enemy number one. But he can't do it against Jeff Bezos. First, he would have to be made enemy number one. And Trump does not control the press. So he can't actually do that. So the stocks tumbled, Amazon stocks tumbled. I would say go buy Amazon stocks because good time to buy is what I would say to that. Well, that's it for our show today. It's only 25 minutes. That's crazy. I just want to let you guys know I appreciate every single one of you that tunes in to hear what we have to say, and especially my elite squad. The squad keeps growing. We really do need your support. If you enjoy the show, think about giving us a few bucks per over at patreon.com/House of Sunny. There's some cool swag, some rewards and things. It's going to pick up, you guys. I don't really talk about my health very much, but I'm still dealing with it. I'm still on freaking prednisone. And I was actually in the hospital 2 weeks ago for a week. I think I must have mentioned that somewhere on social media, but I'm doing what I can. I am dedicated. I'm devoted to getting out my weekly podcast. And so I'm really, really trying to do that every week, regardless of what's happening. But I just can't do video yet. People keep saying, I want to see you, but you guys, you don't want to see me. My face is the size of a plate. It is just horrible, and I just can't put that on video. Also, when I do video, it's just a lot more time consuming, so I have to kind of be careful of that. I'm just doing what I can, and thank you, all of you, for sticking with me, supporting me, telling me you want me to make videos, because I love you for that. I love that you love my videos. I love my videos. I love making them. And I can't wait to get back to it, but I'm just not there yet. I thought I would be there. When I started this podcast, I thought that I would be doing videotapes within a month, and that was last fall. I was doing really well, and I've just been struggling all winter. So I'm working on it. A lot of these trips to Minnesota are because my doctor's up there. He's with the University of Minnesota, and he's just a genius. And we're working on it. I hope soon I will be back to normal, doing videos and everything else, and have my normal energy and my normal life back and my normal mood. I don't have the prednisone mood. If any of you guys have been on prednisone, you know what I'm talking about. It's a crabby mood. I get crabby. It's not good. So that's it for us today. Next week, I'm going to have a special guest. I think I'm going to bring on Alex Marriott. You guys really liked him when he came on and talked about guns. I don't know, maybe not next week, but I want to bring him on to talk about immigration, just because immigration is such a crazy issue that everybody's heads explode over, especially objectivists. And I would like to hear some history on immigration. I think that would be interesting, and I'm sure Alex could illuminate us. He's a very, very factual, calm, reasonable man. He's not going to be biased in giving us the historical information. And we'll work on that. I got another guest in the pipeline to come in and talk about YouTube and social media and stuff like that. And I will have an update for you on where we should all be going and other things. So we'll see you next week.